Hey, real estate rock stars, welcome to the whole enchilada of real estate investing, the only podcast that serves up the full feast of street smart strategies to build wealth and take control of your financial future. I'm Lou Brown, and I've been in the real estate game since 1976, so I've learned how to make the whole plate worth it. Each week, I'll be dishing out creative financing hacks and proven systems that help investors build multi-million-dollar businesses. No fluff, just the good stuff, straight from the source. Ready to dig in and start making deals? Let's get to it. Hi everyone, it's Lou Brown with another edition of the whole enchilada of real estate investing, and I'm so excited today to have Randy Zimnoch, and he has some amazing things to teach us about building a fantastic real estate business and maybe adding on something that could be an enhancement for what you're doing. Randy, tell us a bit about you and where you're located, your family, that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, so currently, I live in Tampa. I moved here a year and a half ago because I have two little girls, 4 and 2. They'll be in May. And it was a life decision to be with family, or lifestyle decision to be closer to family. Most of my business, as far as transactions, happened in San Diego County, Southern California. That's where I built a pretty big team, ran a flipping business for 7 years there from 2010 to 2017. So I got all my network connections in Southern California. So that's where I do most of that. And I'm also fortunate enough to have a network of agents across the country that really believe in what you and I believe, right? Is how do we work with investors better? You're an investor, I'm an investor, but I'm also a licensed agent. So that's the unique spin of that I bring to the community that I oversee, is how do we bring the two together, right? The agent community, the investor community, we can make a lot of money together.
I love that you are a long distance investor. That's something that I teach, and definitely you don't have to stay in your own backyard in order to make money in real estate. You can do it anywhere in the country. And for some people, it makes sense to leave their backyard and go to other places where it might be more affordable, or that their resources can be spread more evenly and earn more return on investment. I love the fact that you have not only perfected the flipping world, and gosh, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's get your wholesaling flipping background into the mix, and then we'll talk about the agent mix.
Yeah, I actually learned from what my understanding now is students of yours years ago, fortune builders. They were my actually first mentors. Just happened to be that one of those guys was one of my best friends. We grew up together, Conrad, in New Jersey. So that's how I got into real estate, is because of Conrad, my relationship, and because of your help of getting them to where they got early on in their career. It triggered my interest. And I was like, I need to know what you guys are doing. And got into real estate basically with them over in Connecticut, learned the ropes. I was an intern in my late 20s for them, believe it or not. And that's how I learned how to actually do short sales. This is during the crash, right? 2008, 2009. So I really got into it during that time. Didn't know any better. To me, I thought that was the norm, right? And I got into those and short sales and started flipping in Jersey. Then ended up actually moving to San Diego because of those guys, Conrad, Than, and Paul and JD. And I wanted to be around them more. And I moved there really to help them build the flipping business again there on the West Coast. And that's where my career in flipping really took off. It went from doing 10, 12 a year to we were doing 70, 80 a year during my 7-year run with them. So we've seen it all, right? From the $100,000 homes to multi-million-dollar developments in San Diego. Things are not cheap there, and they're only getting more expensive. But recently, Lou, I also got into land stuff too. So over the last 2 years, I also started doing some land things, which I really like, because that you can really do virtually.
Fantastic, man. Yeah. So you don't allow a lot of grass to grow under your feet, do you? You
No.
are on the move, and I love that. Forward motion is so powerful in our business, and definitely when you can see an opportunity. But I think the biggest thing is learning a formula, because once you know the formula, you can plug it in and duplicate it over and over again.
That's
But
right.
markets do change, and you jumped in when we had an erratic, crazy market, and you were able to definitely navigate that. It was easy, to be honest, back then, as long as you didn't live in fear. That's one of the things that we see people do, is live in fear of
Yep.
what might happen, as opposed to driving right in, because there's where the real opportunity is when things are in disruption. We like disrupted markets. We're going into one of those right now. Is that what you're seeing?
Oh yeah, I agree. Like I said, I live in Tampa, so I'm seeing some cracks here in the market. Florida, you're already seeing short sales. I wouldn't say it's the same in San Diego because again, I got my pulse on San Diego because that's where I do most of the business. But my network here in Florida is growing and I'm seeing price drops. I'm seeing people underwater, unfortunately. So there's a few markets, Texas, Florida, Nevada, that are experiencing a slowdown. And I do think it will spread a little bit more. It's just, how big, it's to be told. No one has a crystal ball, but I agree with you. I think there's opportunity coming.
Yes, I've often taught that markets in disruption is actually a plan, because there's always winners and losers. And whenever a market is going along, which we've seen the stock market double in 5 years. And so when it drops back 10%, everybody's in panic mode. And I'm laughing out loud. I've said, why don't you look back a year or two ago when it was much, much lower than it is now? Perception is a big thing in the market, and we can definitely take advantage of that. And you've done that not only for yourself, but also you've been able to attract a lot of people who are real estate agents and real estate brokers. Is that right?
Yeah, I got into the agent world, I always say through like the back door, right? Because I was an investor first. And like I said, one of my first mentors, Stan, said, get your real estate license. So I said, okay, whatever he said, I did. I was a good student, Lou. And,
You took
and
the
that,
coaching.
that's right, I did. And that was the best advice I could have honestly received because I personally can't imagine doing real estate without a license now that I've been doing it for so long. Not that you can't. I just see it opens up a lot more opportunities, more flexibility, more agility, more efficient, faster to get to deals, especially if you're going after them on the MLS. And organically, as we were growing our investing business, we were like, let's just open up our own brokerage. And if we're doing 70, 80 flips a year, we're like, it just makes sense. So that's how we grew our brokerage, Realty National in San Diego in 2011 was the beginning. And then it's like it starts slow. You get a listing agent, then you need buyer's agents. Next thing, we were the cool kid on the block. Oh my goodness, it's a cool little investor friendly niche brokerage. Now agents were attracted. Next thing you know, I had 10, 15 agents and I'm like, what am I doing here? Hold on. So then I hired a manager and then it grew organically, to be honest. I wasn't really actively recruiting and we got up to about 70 agents. And then in 2020, right there in COVID, we decided to move. It was a strategic move to move the brokerage over to EXP so we can remove the overhead, give us more freedom on that standpoint, but really to expand because we have a great community with our Fortune Builder students nationwide. We knew a lot of them wanted to partner with us in their city, their state. We couldn't do it because we were in San Diego with our brokerage. So it just made business sense to really partner with someone that is national. So it eliminated all the red tape that we would have to jump through. And we could literally email them the next day and be like, hey, we are where you are. Let's join forces. And that's how it happened. So like literally during COVID, we would do a webinar, Lou, every single month to our community when everybody was bored, didn't know what to do, couldn't move around, locked in their homes. They were watching us, watching Than, talking about, hey, let's join forces. Come bring your license over to EXP with us. We're going to teach you how we leveraged it to do the investing part. We're going to teach you how to make traditional sales referrals. And that's how it all happened. Next thing you know, now years later, we have over 600 agents, like I said, nationwide, but they really think like us, right? A lot of them are like, how do I take this license that I now have and leverage it to enhance my investing business? That's like majority of our community.
What would your advice be for someone that's looking at doing exactly that? So let's go to the investor first. And let's say,
Yeah.
okay, so the investor is wanting to build relationships with agents, doesn't really know how to do it, doesn't know what to say, doesn't know how to say it. And as we know, a lot of agents are not investor friendly. And then there's agents that are absolutely investor friendly. So if somebody's starting out and trying to build those relationships, what would your advice be?
Yeah. Are we saying that you're an investor that's not licensed and wants to build relationships with agents?
Correct.
Got it. So I can tell you, if you are an investor and you get licensed, it's much easier. And so let me start there because that's how I started. So I'll tell you, and I'll give you tips on how to do it without a license, of course. But the number one reason I got my license is really to get my foot in the door with the realtor network. Okay. And we focused a lot on MLS. When we grew CT Homes back in 2010, which again, that company is still in existence. They still follow the same model. Believe it or not, they're still doing flips 50, 60 a year. And our formula hasn't changed. It's building relationships with agents. And how do we do that? If I create a bunch of filters that a lot of us investors teach, right, on the MLS, so the notifications of new listings come to you with those terms, handyman special, charmer, right, cash only, right, all these key words. Now you're getting leads sent to you every single morning. We would filter through those photos, call those agents and be like, hey, Mr. Agent, I am a licensed agent, but I'm calling you because I'm interested in this property to purchase it. I'm not in it for the commission. Are you open to representing me?
Mhm.
That was it. And you just be quiet. So in the states where dual agency is allowed, which is a lot of them across the country, that's to most agents music to their ears, right? And a lot of them, not all, will say, yes, I would be open to representing you. And then I follow up with the next question. Hey, great. What can you tell me about the property that I wouldn't be able to see when I go there this afternoon? By the way, I don't need you to go because I am licensed. I have the key card so I can go to the property. It looks like it's vacant, right? Yep. Okay, good. So what can you tell me that I wouldn't be able to know? And then that agent, guess what? Now they're thinking they're representing me because they are. I told them so. They usually will share a lot more information because now agency disclosure comes into place or agency representation starts playing itself out. And they could tell you things that they might not tell an agent, a buyer that they're not representing. And it
Right.
just made my job easier. So then literally that afternoon, I could be at the property or one of my team members. We could be literally calling that listing agent from the property with our terms, with our number. She's writing or he's writing the offer up. We digitally sign it, done, right? And we did that over and over again. Now, if you're not licensed, you can do all of that, right? The challenge that you can run into is that if it's a great property in this Lou, if it hits the MLS, they don't last long, 24 hours and they're gone, right?
Absolutely.
If you're not licensed, your chances go down dramatically because you're going to call that same listing agent. The difference will be is that you're going to have one of their agents or the listing agent meet you at the property. And by the time they schedule that appointment, they might put it on the contract already because
That's
I'm there within hours and not bothering the agent. That agent never leaves their house with me.
yes.
So to me, that was the number one reason is having access to the MLS and access to properties. Third was the networking event. So like in San Diego, again, this doesn't happen every city and state, but most major ones, there are realtor events happening all the time. So we call them caravans in San Diego. We would go to those caravans every single week. We pick the best ones in our county. We would show up, and it's just a bunch of realtors getting together in the morning to eat breakfast for free. And we pitch properties to each other. Hey, I got this listing coming up, and I got this listing, and that's what they do. They also usually will say, hey, anyone have any buyers? Let's talk about your buyers. And I would raise my hand, Lou, and be like, hey, I'm a licensed agent, but I actually run a flipping company called CT Homes. Some of you might heard of us, but bottom line, I'm your buyer. So if you guys have anything that's ugly, crack slaps, fire damage, mold, whatever, I would love to work with you and I would love for you to represent me if you're open to it. Kid you not, Lou, after every caravan, I would have 2, 3 agents come to me. Randy, I got something off market. Randy, I got something falling out of escrow. Randy, I'll have this coming up. Oh, This is how you play the long game, right? When you start,
Oh,
but you have to show up every week, show up, right? And we started building that agent network because now when you do one deal with one agent and you do it right and you close, guess what? Next time they get a property that needs work, who do you think they're going to?
they're going to call you first before they even put it on the MLS. And
Bingo.
then get your offer and then put it on the MLS and mark it sold immediately.
That's right. You know the drill, Lou.
Oh, baby, sweetie, honey. This is a big deal, really. And you said the magic word network. When you do what you say you're going to do and you actually establish that in the agent's mind, then that's exactly what they're going to do. Hey, they're not dumb. They want their commission and they want it quickly. And when you're someone that's proven that you can close, they will bring you the deals, guys. This is a very important thing to learn is that they're out there. As you said, they're out there, and there's a whole lot more real estate agents than there are real estate investors. There's a whole lot more sellers than there are buyers in that world. And definitely that's one of the things that we figured out back in 2009, 2010, when we flipped the script on how we do our business too. And it was to find the buyer before you buy. So we actually have our house monster system where we identify potential retail buyers and really retail plus because of the fact that we work with folks that have less than perfect credit. They've got down payment money and they can't qualify inside the banker's box. So we operate outside the banker's box and we are buy and hold long term and eventually may become the bank for the customer, for the buyer, and or they go on and get a new loan from the bank. Meanwhile, we got down payment money, we got income on a monthly basis, we got upgrades when they move up the path to home ownership, payments when they move up, and then finally we get cashed out at the end. So we call it bits and pieces and hunks and chunks. And so I love what you're saying about building those relationships because every real estate agent in their phone has people with less than perfect credit or can't qualify at the bank because they're a business person. Bank don't love them because they
Yep.
haven't got enough provable statistics over a 2 year span. And so we are able to step in and help those folks and get a very nice return on investment for sure.
And I'm guessing you pay agents commissions if they bring
Oh,
you that
yeah,
buyer.
baby. We love agents. We love agents and definitely welcome them into our world and have them bring us. They're tired, they're poor, they're huddled masses yearning to be free. We just say, come on, bring them to us and let us see if we can find a home. And the fun thing is, we also make the customer, the potential buyer, part of the team. And so we send them out to find deals that are not on the MLS, that are not online, that nobody else knows about. And they bring those back to us as
Love
well.
it.
Yeah,
Love it.
it's a
Yeah. So cool.
you're changing people's lives and you're getting a big kick out of that part of it too, just the fact that we and in fact I have my bestsellers called Doing Good While Doing How Real Estate Investors Provide a Service and Make a Difference. So definitely when you can tie it in with what you're doing, oh my gosh, it is just phenomenal and definitely something that I think a lot of you guys should pay attention to because hey, being able to get there quickly and get there soon. And isn't it true that a lot of times people list properties actually at a very good price? So it's coming right into the market, Randy, at a fantastic price. And it's already taken into account the discount, and boom, it's right there in front of your eyes.
Yeah, so some agents just get it, right? The ones that understand the dynamics and who their avatar is as a buyer for that particular property, they will just do that. They'll list it low. They know they will attract that cash buyer. They'll probably get 10, 20 offers, and one of them is going to buy it, right? Now, there are some investors out there, as you probably know, it's just they overpay for properties because they work on different margins. So you just got to stick to your numbers, right? So don't get emotionally engaged in it where you start tweaking your ARVs down or I mean up or your repair numbers down just to make deals work, because that's where I see a lot of investors just lose their shirt.
So true. One of the things I say is the market changes every single day. And as long as you're in the market, you're going to be able to find what you're looking for. And you just got to stay active with it.
That's right.
Oh, wow. Now, when somebody's thinking about making the shift and actually becoming an agent, what would you tell them to look out for?
One, I think number one, I would say even before you even decide if you want to get licensed, check your state regulations, because I can tell you one thing, that several states now are actually requiring for you to have a license if you want to do wholesaling. And that's been the trend over the last, I would say, 2 years, where wholesalers basically are on the radar, right? It's again, I'm not saying it in a bad way. It's just the National Association of Realtors, the consumer advocacy groups, they're just trying to protect the public. So they might have a skewed vision of what we do as wholesalers. Maybe they think we scam the public, which is absolutely not true, because we fully disclose what we do. We have to both agree on the price. No one is forcing the seller to sign the contract. However, we do get a bad rap, right, as wholesalers to some degree in the industry. So what's been happening, if your audience noticed over the last couple of years, some states are literally either banning wholesaling. I believe South Carolina is one of them.
They were
Uh,
the first, yeah, they were the
yep.
first to just take it off the radar. You can't even do
Yeah,
it.
anyway, that it was interesting what they did. But there's states like Illinois, if you want to do more than I think than one wholesale in a year, you got to have a license. And there's a couple other ones. So I don't see that changing in the other direction, meaning, where they're gonna actually not require you to have a license. I see it moving in the direction where you either will have to have a license to do wholesaling, or they will just not allow wholesaling, period. So that's where I would start, right? Wherever you want to wholesale or flip, just look into the regulations. Look, what's the noise around it, right? Because I also wouldn't recommend, like, for example, right now in South Carolina, for you to get licensed only to realize you can't even wholesale. Now, that doesn't mean you can't succeed, because if you're flipping, well, then yeah, you should get your license probably, right? That's my recommendation. But if you're strictly trying to do wholesaling, there are certain markets you might not even want to get your license, because it gives you literally no advantage. So that's number one, research. Second, you got to also find out, once you have your license, does the brokerage that you're planning on partnering with, do they even allow you to wholesale? Because the state might allow it, but the brokerage might not. So ask the right questions, right? Hey, are you okay if I flip my own homes? Are you okay if I even list my own homes? Some brokerages won't even let you list your own flip, right? And it's mainly, I can tell you, it's not because they are against you as an investor. It's all about risk management, right? And what that usually means is that their E&O policy just doesn't cover the investor activities. That's it. Because it's very expensive to have E&O insurance that covers us licensed investors, right? So that was a big factor for us when we were making our decision who to partner with, because one, we needed a national company. That was our goal. Who do we partner that's national, that's not franchisees owned? It's just one big company, so we can plug our community into the organization or the brokerage. Easy, with the same onboarding process, so it's all efficient. But do they allow wholesaling? And what I gathered over my research is we were able to get EXP to be more open to wholesaling than other brokerages, right? Now they're even more and more open as the years went on. You do have to get approved. So it's not like you just come in and start doing whatever you want. If you're wholesaling at EXP, as an example, you have to get approved by your local broker, and they have specific guidelines for you to follow. For example, for that specific state, there might be additional. So I'm saying all this because every brokerage is going to operate differently, right? So don't just assume, oh, I'm going to get my license, I'm going to join my brokerage down the street because it's convenient. You might find out that you might not be able to wholesale. You might not be able to sell your own properties. Or if you do have to sell your own properties, they have a commission structure that doesn't favor you for that, right? So ask the right questions before you make that decision to join a brokerage. And if any help I can assist, let me know, reach out to me, and I can help you as well. But I would say EXP is one of those that does allow it. They're friendly, they're investor friendly. That was our decision that we took. We did not take it lightly, let's put it that way, because not only It had to make sense for us in San Diego. It also had to make sense for all of our students across the country that were interested in joining forces with us.
Yeah, baby, that's good stuff. Very great advice. And another thing that becoming an agent allows you to do is to manage properties for others. And that's one of the things that a lot of our licensees, and when I say licensee, I'm talking about they buy a license from us to use our system. It's called Certified Affordable Housing Provider. And
Got it.
a lot of real estate licensees join us as well. And so our licensees, when they join us, they learn how we manage properties, and it's quite unique and quite profitable. We've got 25 different profit centers over and above what a typical landlord makes. So when they can come to the table taking over management for other people and say, and we have all these other things that we can help increase the cash flow on your properties, man, it's music to their ears. And it's a great income. So a lot of people, when they become licensed, will add on property management as another aspect of what they do, and it can be significant.
So to your point, Lou, so like in your example, do you have a brokerage that you own or no? You just tell them to
No,
get licensed. So
I
in
just
your,
talk about if they're going to manage their own properties,
yep,
then they're using the same techniques and tools. And
yep,
those of my licensees that are licensed, they can take on other people's
yeah.
properties.
So with your example, they have to ask, don't assume that every brokerage allows property management.
That's right. Yeah.
EXP actually does not allow property management. They don't play in that arena. That takes that one off the table for you if you're partnering with Lou, right? Easy. So you got to understand what sandbox are you playing in, because not every brokerage appeals to it.
Interesting. There's some interesting things that definitely, when you become an agent, you do get access. You pointed out some really great information about that. And I think you opened some eyes for people to consider it. And with the EXP model, there's even some other profit centers that are quite amazing as well. Do you want to mention that?
Yeah. So EXP was, I would say not, I would say it's a fact. They pioneered the new way of doing or running a real estate office, I would say, or a brokerage. Glenn Sanford, the founder, he's a visionary. He saw that the biggest expense for companies, unfortunately, is the brick and mortar. And I was one of those in San Diego, California, Pacific Beach, 2 blocks from the water. I was paying a lot of money per month to be there, salaries, all that. So biggest expenses are usually the brick and mortar for what we call the legacy brokerages, right? Great companies, nothing against them, right? Those are your Century 21s, Berkshires. They have a lot of expenses with the brick and mortar model, right? Those are our legacy companies that we call, and then they have a recruiter always. They all have to have a recruiter on staff, and because if they don't recruit agents, eventually the pipeline of deals will dry up. That's a huge expense. That's Glenn Sanford turned that model upside down, said no brick and mortar, we don't need it. We're going to go virtual, eliminate that huge expense. We don't need recruiters. We're going to have our agents be the recruiters. And if we create an incredible company that they are proud of, that they have a ton of resources, the things they need to operate, produce transactions, help their clients, then they will talk about us, right? And when they do, we'll reward them for it.
Right.
Period. That was the big secret, right? And then all of a sudden, it takes years, right? As anything that's new, it takes years to be adapted, and there's always the risk takers on the beginning that jump in, they see it. But really the growth for them happened right before COVID it started. When we joined them, they were at 30,000, but then right there when COVID happened, they just blasted off, went from 30,000 to 60,000 to 80,000. It was like a launch pad, just went off. And it was fun to see that ride. And, not only did we benefit, but many agents in our organization get to benefit because we brought them in. So EXP rewards us every time they close a transaction. They call it revenue share. But when they also introduce EXP to someone else, they'll get a little bit of revenue share. And what we like to equate it to within our investor agent community, Than and I, when we talk to our community that is interested in joining, let's say EXP, I said, look, you're not joining because of the revenue share. You're not joining because of the recruiting. It has to make sense for your business that you're doing right now, right? If you're a realtor, it has to make sense for that. How is it going to help you produce more transactions? If you're an investor, how's it going to help you produce more there? I was like, the recruiting aspect is a byproduct of you being in the business. And then wouldn't it be nice that if an agent asks you who you're with, that you can introduce them, and then if they join, it's like having a single family a house that cash flows about 200-300 a month, right? You just don't have to change the toilets. That's it. So if you bring one agent, it's like having a rental property, an extra house. So that's how, and that clicks for our community. Oh yeah, like we always talk about, about owning properties. So like you flip, that's your active income, and then you use your active income to buy passive, create rental, buy rental, so you can create passive income, and that eventually allows you to retire. That's the common path of what we teach our investor clients. So that makes sense to them when we say, wouldn't you want to have a lot of those passive income properties, except that they're just agents
Yeah.
and they
Yeah,
pay you every year?
that is good stuff, man. So, Randy, when you think about your past now, what, 15 years now in the business, and you've learned a lot, and you look back, what would you do different if you had to do it all over again?
Oh yeah, great question. Yeah, so number one is running my investing business at a high level, which we did, right? When I was, again, a partner with those guys there in San Diego. What I would have done is I would have only brought on the agents I needed for the inventory that I had, or for the demand that I had. Okay. Meaning, if I need a listing agent, great. Hire that, bring on that listing agent to your brokerage, because I was my own brokerage, or you can also say a team. You don't need to be a brokerage to do what we did. Let's say you're a licensed agent and you're a high level investor and you're doing 5-10 flips a month. You're probably going to hire a listing agent on your team. But then eventually that listing agent might not be able to handle all the open houses. So guess what? We're going to probably bring on a couple buyer's agents, right?
Hey,
Because I have the demand for it, right? But if I didn't have the demand, I would not bring on more agents. And this is where I personally think I made a mistake, because agents wanted to join us, it's no longer for the demand that I had. It was just that they wanted to be with us because we were like the new kid on the block, the investor friendly brokerage. And I was like, okay, that sounds
you
great.
said,
Like,
come on in, come on
come on
in.
in. If you want to sell real estate and I'll make a commission split off you, great. I wouldn't do it that way, because what ends up happening, 80-20 rule will apply in most businesses. 80% will actually not do anything, 20 will, and the 80% will actually take a lot of your time. So then I found myself babysitting agents that had nothing to do with my investing business.
Exactly. We call it kindergarten. So
Oh,
then you're running a kindergarten and people are coming in, they're not coming in, they're, oh, I meant to be there, and all of that nonsense. And you just say, wait a minute, you're not playing the game the way the game's designed.
that's it. And that's where, and it didn't help that it was our own brokerage, because now I had the overhead and they also wanted tools and resources like every agent wanted. So guess who had to provide that?
Yeah.
Me.
You had to pay
Right?
for everything. Yeah.
So if I were to do it again, I would run a team. I wouldn't actually own my own brokerage, because it's just not worth the risk or liability. I would run a team under somebody else's brokerage, and I would start with only bringing on the agents on my team that I need for the leads or whatever you have coming in requires, right? Now, when you're with a company like EXP, it's a little bit easier to be like, okay, you want to join us? I can't have you on my team, but you can join EXP if you like it. And then EXP takes over managing them. They're their broker. They have the tools and resources. So if EXP was around at the level that they were when we joined them back in that day in 2011, which they weren't, we would have joined them. That would have been the best move. It was just they were not around at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess to summarize it, don't grow too fast on the brokerage side or on the team side, especially if your number one goal is to become a high level investor,
Yeah.
because it will distract you completely off your goal.
That's the point I wanted to get to right there, is that there's a lot of shiny objects out there in the world, and there's a lot of things that can take you away from what you're doing. And then you just start looking at some closing statements, and you start looking at where you land on the closing statement. Are you up here where the real estate commission is paid, or are you down here where the money is actually paid to the investor? And when you compare those numbers, I think you'll agree that being an investor is going to be far more profitable over a lot of time. But having that extra edge to be an agent and having that extra edge to tap into the MLS when those deals do hit the market each and every day, that does give you some opportunity that you otherwise might not have as a real estate investor. And certainly that is a tool in many things that we do in order to generate leads. But definitely either become one or get heavily aligned with one that has access to those things, and you should be a great success. Randy, how can people reach you?
The easiest, I would just say if you go to investoragentnation.com, it's a new, I would say, training YouTube channel we launched a year or so ago. So if you go to that, it will actually take you right to our YouTube channel. We are doing this really, and when I say we, it's Eric Gross, my business partner, and I. We're doing it to really just spread the word and educate the agent community how to work with investors better, and educate the investor community how to work with agents better. So I would say start there, and then you can look my name up on any social media. I guarantee you there's no other Randy Zimnoch out there, which is very easy, and you'll find me. But I would say there, because that's where you can get deeper into my brain, how I think, and we cover so many different topics, but really it's all about helping the two industries understand each other better so we can do more deals.
Oh, wow, that is so powerful and fantastic. Any final thoughts that you want to share with our audience in really the discoveries that you've made and who you've become and what you're doing these days? Any final thoughts to people that are thinking about being you?
Yeah, I think what comes to mind is like wherever you are today, just know that the real estate industry has so many niches, so many, right? So whatever you're doing, get started, take massive action. Just know that's probably not where you're going to end up. Okay. And you'll be surprised where God takes you within the real estate industry. I've seen so many cool pivots myself, right? Where I started as a flipper, like I told you, Lou. Now I'm doing land stuff because I happened to come across someone that started doing it. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then just so many niches. There's people I know that do self-storage. They started as a flipper, right? So just stick with it, but maximize what you're doing now, right? Get it running, put the systems in place. However, if you feel like, oh my goodness, am I going to do this forever? Just know that the answer is probably no. And you're going to pivot to something incredible. And it usually will happen through the people you meet, such as Lou, myself, and others.
Oh man, what great advice, Randy. You are awesome. Definitely thank you for joining us for the whole enchilada of real estate investing, and looking forward to working with you soon. Yeah, baby. Awesome. Awesome. You are a great guest. Oh, wow. You had a great lot of information and just powerful messaging. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what this looks like. But I was intrigued by your shift into land. That's a whole other arena, like you said. And what was it that attracts you about land?
There's no toilets to fix, right? There's no pipes to fix. There's no just dirt. So to me, it's just
Just dirt and property taxes, right? That's all you have to worry about.
it's just easier, right? So that's number one. I can do it from anywhere. I can start investing anywhere. I don't need contractor relationships, right? So it's a faster path to get started anywhere in a country. Once you identify different markets, you can test out different markets much faster, right? With launching marketing campaigns in 5 different states if you want. And again, if one hits, you're not stressed that you need contractors because you don't. So
Right?
I just like the ease of it, accessibility, faster to get in, less money to higher profit margins. Because when you were buying up lots for 15,000, selling them for 30, like where else can you make 100% on your money
And
and
actually
have,
become the bank for those people too, and
yeah.
get the cash flow for.
We just did that in Arizona. We have 3 acres in Arizona. We actually end up buying, and we just actually sold it last week to a lady who she's got a builder and they want to build a multifamily on them. And so she gave us 15 down for the first lot, and then we financed the other two. So we're going to cash flow. We're going to make some money on the front end. And yeah, it's like there's so much cool things you can do with land.
As an example, what did you sell those lots for?
45,000, all three.
Yeah.
All three.
The reason I'm intrigued by this is because I was just contacted last week, and we in this business, you're going to pick up lots, you're going to split lots off, you're going to keep them. So I have this little bank of land, and it's just all kinds of different aspects, lots here and there, and what have you. And they found me as they do this connectivity thing, and eventually they connected that lot to me, and they said, "What about this?" It's 2.05 acres, and went back and forth, and I sold it for 100 grand, and I don't have to fix, I don't have to build a house, I don't have to do any zoning variations, and I don't have to do anything. They're going to do it all, and that was my bottom line number for that lot. But it's just a fun thing that I split that off of another house. So I sold the house years ago, but I
Yeah.
kept these 2 acres. So
Yeah. It was like,
free money, just freaking free money. And that's one of the things I teach is anatomy of a deal, where you can split off things and keep things and different things to improve your return later on the property. So that's
and
some of the fun that we do.
I remember, so I did meet you 2 years ago. We were talking outside because I pop into the family masterminds one of the evenings and hang out because of Conrad now goes to it, Noah, and so hang out with them in the evenings. And you were there and we took a photo. And this was I think probably 3 years ago. This is before Conrad joined the family mastermind.
Ah,
And we sent a photo together to Than, you and I. Like, I think we were smoking cigars outside.
yes, yes, cigars.
We sent a photo. We did a photo and we sent it to Paul, Dan, Conrad. Hey guys, do you remember this guy? Oh.
I remember that. Yeah, that's a great memory for sure. I want that picture. You have to send it to me.
I will. It's easy. I have it, so I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun, man. Oh, it's so great to find you and so great to get connected. And definitely, there's still things that we can do together, because one thing that resonated in my mind as you were talking is, from an education standpoint, every single person needs to learn about trusts. And of course, I've been using land trusts since 1983, and I've been teaching them since 1986. And I've got a full blown system on it, course, step-by-step process, the forms, the procedures, filled in versions, blank, my stuff.
Yeah.
And that would be phenomenal to expose to
So-
your agents and let them learn more about it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So I actually just started bringing in speakers into so I do for Investor Agent Nation, we committed to a monthly kind of training that's open to the public. But it was just me and Eric talking about a topic, and then we would open it up for questions. So we would get, I don't know, 15, 20 people live, 30, depending on the topic. But then we leverage that obviously for social media, right? The YouTube, the shorts, and we put it on Instagram and TikTok, all the good, what everybody does. But so we just started playing around with bringing people on. So we had two. The last two we did was actually with other people. If you want, I can get you introduced to our network that way, because then I can actually interview you, right? Just like you're interviewing me. So Eric and I can ask you all types of questions about what you do, your journey, and then how it relates to agents, because that's also, right, our network, our listeners, right?
Yes.
And vice versa. And then I email it. I have a big email list, and then of course put it on all the social media channels. So if you're open to that, we can bring you on. And
When today can we do that? So yeah, no doubt about it.
We're good. Thanks.
Amen. Amen. I'm with you 100%. All right, my friend. Definitely we'll be talking soon.
Yes, absolutely, Lou.
Take care. I'll text
Pleasure
you
to be
and
on your
we'll be
show.
connected that way too. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Talk soon.
Thanks for tuning in to the whole enchilada of real estate investing. I hope you're feeling ready to take your investing game to the next level. If you're serious about building wealth, you won't want to miss the Millionaire Jumpstart. It's a 3-day live event that's perfect for any level of investor. Whether you're just getting started or you're looking to scale, this can be one of the final steps of making real wealth happen. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now at millionairejumpstart.com and get ready to make big moves in your real estate journey. I'm Lou Brown. Until next time, keep hustling, and remember, it's not about how much you make, it's about how smart you play the game.